Let's podcast. Alongside Joe Giglio, I'm Joe Ovies inside Eford Studios in downtown Raleigh. Thanks to Empire Properties and thanks to Copiers Plus. Check them out online at copiers-plus.com. Print management, document management, get everything you need to the cloud. Fair warning to the audience and to Giglio, it might be a very youth hockey kind of show today. Tim Healy, NC State IcePack coach, is going to drop by the studio. I had to print out a bunch of documents for the junior canes. Kyocera printer came in handy.
You needed a car to drive to all these junior canes games too.
I'm actually thinking about getting a specific youth hockey mobile, so I stopped putting mileage on my Civic. So I might need a hockey mobile. It's time to. It might be time. It might be time, Joe. It might be time to pull that lever with our friends at Heister Automotive Group. Every guest is brought to you by Heister Automotive Group, and we'll also be talking to Spencer Hall. Every day should be Saturday. You remember him from that time. Shutdown Fullcast After Dark. The true After Darks.
The OG After Dark, if you will.
Well, we'll talk to Spencer about some college football matters and maybe a Dave Doeren appreciation to go along with some Bill Belichick takes as well on what's going on here in the Triangle. I will give this to Spencer. He understands the area better than most national college football people. So looking forward to that conversation. But speaking of college athletics, I feel like we could probably do a segment called like Today in College Sports Administrative News.
Okay.
Because, like, for instance, we've got we finally got the ACC hoop schedule come out, right?
Oh,
and
that was yesterday. Yes.
Yeah, that was yesterday afternoon. We get the hoop schedule, and we got the new 18-game scheduling matrix.
So it's 2 fewer games than last few years.
And we knew this was going to happen, but now it's in like it's for real. For real, we've got the schedule, we've got dates, and NC State, Carolina, and Duke. From the NC State perspective, NC State is only playing Carolina once and playing Duke once. We know that NC State is going to host UNC on a flex date. It's either going to be on the 17th of February or the 18th. Okay.
Somewhere Mark Gottfried is screaming.
And then on March 2nd, they will be hosting Duke. So on one end, the ACC is doing Will Wade a favor in that his first year in the ACC, he gets to see Carolina and Duke, the two biggest games to NC State fans, here in Raleigh. The problem is there's no return trips to Cameron or the Smith Center, which there's a larger conversation to be had. And I think it's a really great opportunity to point this out right now in a brief moment. If you wonder why people don't love your conference anymore, or they don't necessarily feel as invested as they once were in college athletics, the conference itself, it's examples like this. You get away from what the core wants, and this is what gives you a reason to stay. And the one mistake that college administrators, or really any sports executive, makes is that they think that sports fans are always going to be sports fans. They're going to ride or die for you no matter what. The answer to that is no, that is not true. And when you take away things that matter to people, and in this particular case, historic matchups between NC State, Carolina, and Duke, all you're doing is eroding that level of interest that's been there for generations. And they could have done this a different way. I don't like that they did it this way, but here we are, and we're only going to see these matchups once in Raleigh.
Yeah, the problem with expanding the league the way that they did is it becomes, well, who actually does have to play twice a year, right? Like, when you really think about it, this was Mark Gottfried's argument 10 years ago now. Like, do NC State and North Carolina have to play twice a year every year? And I said to him, yes,
they do.
said, in this context, if the league says you're only playing once, then I would schedule a non-conference game at the other site. And then that way you're playing each other twice a year. That's what I would do. I said, I understand what you're saying. He was like, like Florida State and Miami should play twice. Sure. But like, who else? Virginia Tech, right? Yeah. Okay. So he was just kind of going through the league. But you look at it, you're like, does SMU need to play somebody twice a year? No. Stanford and Cal obviously should play each other twice a year and will. But you add all these teams to the conference, and then all of a sudden it becomes, well, what actually does have to happen? And that's where you are now, because this is long gone from the round robin. This isn't even
we're not even talking about.
We're not lamenting that. We're just saying, like, the more you add, the more you expand the league, the more you put yourself in this situation where you said you're basically putting a gun to someone's head and saying, what was who has to play? And well, the answer is always going to be Duke and Carolina.
Of course it is. Well,
that's always going to be the
answer. If you ask some television executives, they'll say, well, why do they only have to play twice a year? Maybe they should play 3 times a year, maybe 4 times a year. Why not? Right? That's the brain rot too that has come from television executives, that they think the only game that ultimately matters is the Duke Carolina game. No, there's other good matchups in the ACC, and if you don't promote them, then you're left with this.
The ancillary point too from Mark from back then, remembering this now in real time.
Yeah.
Is it wasn't fair that State had to play Duke twice, had to play Carolina twice.
Bullshit.
Well, no. What he's saying is Virginia is basically getting into the tournament every year by playing them once each, playing 2 total games against them.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden he's like, well, I'm playing 4 games. It's
tough shit. Like, sorry.
Tough neighborhood.
Well,
not tough shit.
There is that too. But the reason why Virginia wasn't doing that because they didn't have to play Duke and Carolina that many times.
Right.
They would still win the league. They would still finish atop the league. They weren't gagging games. They were, Joe. It's like, it's
know what Virginia's record is when they see a team. Well, under Tony Bennett, when they saw a team a second time.
I know.
We don't have to have that argument today. We can have that another day.
Instead, we can argue about the ongoing war between the SEC and the Big Ten. Again, more college administrative stuff this week.
Wait, you didn't like bust out the schedule yesterday and circle all the games that you're going to go to? And that's only something that sports writers do.
Yeah. And you guys treat it like,
why doesn't everyone have the same reaction? Well, you're the one who has to go make a schedule.
I don't.
Travel plan right now.
I don't.
Not the rest of the world.
No. I'll find out that week. Oh, they play this team? Oh, okay, cool. Oh. Sweet. Are they home or away? Oh, okay.
You want to take a ride to Auburn on Wednesday, December 3rd? Have you been to Auburn?
I've never been.
It's pretty cool. I've only been there for hoops.
Okay.
I've never been there for football. Obviously, I should go to a football game there.
Bruce Pearl going to be the basketball coach?
Oh, can he do both? Can he be the senator and? Is that what he's really debating right now to himself?
Apparently.
Wow. Just wow. No, I honestly though, I think Will Wade understood the assignment.
Yes.
Love the games that they're playing. Yes. Nice schedule, good challenges. ACC schedule aside. Yeah, love it.
So the NCAA Oversight Committee last week voted on
NCAA Oversight Committee. Okay.
Voted on pushing forward a single transfer portal window for football. Okay. Though this transfer portal window, because remember, right now it's kind of like a wild.
Football's crazy.
I don't even know. There's like 3 transfer portals, right? Yeah. Including one in the spring, which has caused people to just completely abandon spring games because they don't want tampering, right? So the new model would have, the one that is proposed, is a single window in January. It would eliminate the spring and the winter window system and condense it into a 10-day period in January. This is a recommendation. It's not actually going into effect just yet. The wrinkle to this is that it would occur, the window would open when we're in the college football playoff quarterfinals, meaning that there are 8 teams playing high-level football that would have to start worrying about next year's roster and the potential of guys entering the transfer portal while they're in the quarterfinals. Remember, there were some instances of that this past season where you had playoff teams dealing with guys that were entering their names into the transfer portal.
Yeah, 2 years ago, famously, Texas's backup quarterback decided, I'd rather go make money somewhere else and start because I'm not going to start here. And here we are.
Ohio State head coach Ryan Day, not a fan of it, during his media availability this week. He said, quote, "I don't think it's a good idea. In the conversations that we have had with Big Ten coaches, I think the majority of them agree. I just don't quite understand how teams that are playing in the playoffs are expected to make decisions and sign their upcoming players while they're still getting ready for playoff games. It doesn't make any sense to me." That is in contrast to the head coach at Arkansas. This is Sam Pittman. He was asked about the transfer portals, single window, and I thought his response was actually pretty interesting.
So it looks like the NCAA may go to just one transfer portal in January, and I know that's something that you've talked about for a while. What are the advantages and disadvantages if it simply goes to one portal window being open, especially that time of year?
As a coach?
As a coach or even as a player.
It's been a long time since I played. As a coach, there are no disadvantages to me, none. I mean, you going to give your wife 2 or 3 opportunities a year to leave you? I mean, come on.
Sam looks good, by the way. He was Butch's offensive line coach at Carolina. He looks good. I know he's not going to have his job next year, but he looks good.
I know. I just thought that response was hilarious. What am I supposed to give my wife 3 or 4 opportunities to leave me? Like, wow. Okay, fair enough. But I mean, I see what his point is.
This committee's interesting, by the way.
Yeah, who's on the committee?
We got our favorite AD, Dan Radakovich.
Yeah,
at Miami. He's on the committee. Matthew Dennis is the player from Wake Forest who gets a rep. Michael Strickland is in charge of football for the ACC on the committee.
Your guy.
Brett Bielema, obviously the head coach at Illinois, on the committee. Georgia's AD and a couple other here, the smaller ones. So it's interesting to see whose voice. It's always to me about who the voice is. The chair of the committee is Buffalo's AD.
That's how it's like when, the president of Wake Forest is making a hell of a lot of decisions for the ACC. Yeah, it's funny how that works out. But I think we can all be in agreement that the way this stuff goes right now with the multiple windows is bad. It's
in
bad.
football in particular.
Football, it's bad. And it creates these really awkward moments in the spring around the spring portal. And I can't break a guy out because somebody might be looking at him and then they're tampering and they leave. Having it, the coaches have it within their control. I get what Ryan Day's point is, but I think everybody could agree that one window is the way to go.
And guess who needs to be saved from that window? The coaches themselves.
Yes.
Bill Belichick completely turning over his roster after the spring because he could.
Yep.
Not because it was going to help him, but because he could.
Now, one other thing about college athletics, and this was from last week, Nick Saban, former Alabama coach, was on with Pat McAfee. Because the other thing that's going on with all the transfer portal window and the tampering is the money, right? Money is this big thing right now. Everybody's kind of justifying the amount of money that's being used of who gets an advantage and who doesn't get an advantage. And just like to your point, it's always interesting to see who is on these committees making these decisions. Just like I always find it interesting as well, who's complaining about the money? Who's complaining about money all of a sudden? Wasn't a problem before when the rules were different, but now money is a problem. Well, for instance, Mike Gundy, of all people, Oklahoma State head coach. I'm a man. I'm 40. Mike effing Gundy.
The T. Boone Pickens coach at Oklahoma State. That Mike Gundy.
That Mike Gundy complained about, well, Oregon's got all this money. The last thing you want to do, and I don't know Dan Lanning personally. I am not tapped into Oregon football other than the Duck dressing up like a Labubu this past weekend, which was hilarious. The last
Should I know what a Labubu is?
No, don't bother. The last thing you want is to give Dan Lanning the ammunition he needs. And I'll hat tip to Chip Patterson, who's like, I don't know what Dan Lanning's musical taste is, but the way he goes about this business, you would think he's a metalhead. Okay? So they put it on Oklahoma State this past weekend after Gundy's like, well, I mean, look at the money they're spending on their roster.
The great thing about us is we don't need any extra motivation to come in and want to whoop your ass. But it sure does help when the opponent pours a little gasoline on you. And they poured a little gasoline. The great thing about this game is what they think versus what I know. I know about this team's work. I know about this team's sacrifice. I know about this team's connection. Right? That's going to be a separator in this game. Because if you're going to come in and you're going to be talking shit, it's time to cowboy up. But guess what? The Bull don't care. And today, we're the Bull. Let's go up there.
I know we make fun of Key and Peele. Like, I looked him right in the eye sockets. There is something about Lanning. When you look at him in the eyes, you're like, oh,
are you serious?
You're not joking. You're really about that life.
Today, we're the Bull.
We're the Bull. Cowboy. That was my favorite. Cowboy up.
The Bull don't care.
Hey, man. That's good stuff. That's good stuff.
Hey,
I
man,
love that. I love that. So, again,
I just wish it wasn't edited. What's the point?
Who's the source complaining about money? In that case, it was Mike Gundy. Now I'm going to present to you Nick Saban, going back to Nick.
Pickens. What?
Nick Saban went on with Pat McAfee on Friday, and they got into a back and forth about the Big Ten and the SEC and the fact that the Big Ten has kind of shifted things over their end. Who are the last two national champions, Joe?
Yep.
They've come out of the Big Ten.
Michigan and Ohio State.
So Nick Saban had the audacity to go on television and say this.
But the North is talking a lot of shit right now. Ain't that right?
Rightfully so, too. Rightfully
the North
so.
is talking a lot of shit right now.
Look, can I have a perspective on this?
You can.
Look,
Yes, sir. And you get an ISO cam. Watch this.
I think that the SEC was the SEC because of the culture in the South. There wasn't professional football in the South for a long time, and everybody related to the colleges. Okay, we talked about that before. Well, now that doesn't matter. I mean, kids grew up wanting to go to LSU. Kids grew up wanting to go to Alabama. Kids grew up wanting to go to Georgia. Got the money now. They don't mind going to Ohio State. They don't mind going to other places. So that geographic advantage that the Southeast Conference had may be changing a little bit.
Yikes.
Now with a different culture, with name, image, and likeness and money involved in decision making. And I think that's created a little bit of an edge for the Big Ten.
Okay.
That's super rich.
I find that hilarious on multiple levels. I mean, basically, the idea that there's no culture in the Big Ten is pretty damn funny. Like Ohio State doesn't have culture. Michigan doesn't have culture. Wisconsin doesn't have culture.
Michigan State, where he coached.
Right. Penn State doesn't. Well, we probably shouldn't talk about Penn State's culture. Andre Joe Paterno. The point is, there is culture in the Big Ten. But the culture has matched the SEC's. Remember, we're not that far removed from when Urban Meyer went from the SEC to the Big Ten and started coaching at Ohio State. When the old AD at Wisconsin, why am I blanking on that?
Barry Alvarez.
Barry Alvarez, thank you. The former coach in AD was incensed over the fact that Urban Meyer would actively recruit somebody after they had committed to a school.
Yeah.
That was a big controversy in the Big Ten. In the Big Ten, they were like,
we're very collegial here. We're very, family.
10, 15, 20 years ago, the Big Ten would scoff at the idea of paying a strength and conditioning coach $1 million, which was something that routinely happened in the SEC. Okay?
Yeah.
And this idea that, well, it was the culture. Kids grew up wanting to go to LSU and Alabama. Well, you know what else was part of that culture in the SEC? Bagmen.
Yeah.
Like, did I just the $1,000 handshakes were, I don't know, church floors getting redone. Like this idea that, oh man, they came here for the purity of the culture because they just didn't have pro sports down in the South. Come on, Nick. Come on, dude. You can't believe that shit. That's the thing that always cracks me up about the SEC. They act as though this was all done on the up and up. No, the reason why there's mythology around college athletics, specifically college football, is because of the SEC and things like bagmen and whatnot. There was something that has stuck with me forever that nobody ever really followed up on, and it was related to Nevin Shapiro. For those who don't remember, Nevin Shapiro was Miami's bagman, and he got
with a big bag.
He had a big bag. It also ended up being a Ponzi scheme bag, but that's another story altogether. So the man's in jail for a Ponzi scheme. And when all this started to come out, Charles Robinson at Yahoo Sports ended up sitting down with him, and he just spilled the beans. He was mad at everybody because he was the one that was doing time for a Ponzi scheme. Understandably, you got to go to jail for that. You rip people off.
Right.
But he was mad because all the schools were disassociating themselves from him, particularly Miami. He's like, I kept you guys afloat. And the thing that he said back then that was fascinating to me was, I got people to Miami on lifestyle, the boats, the strippers. You needed me to fix something? I got it for you. Okay. He said the reason he was able to do that and use Miami, the lifestyle of Miami, as leverage was because he knew dollar for dollar, he could not compete with the SEC. He said, I'm paraphrasing here.
Yeah.
If I lost a recruit for Miami, it's because the SEC gave them hard cash, straight up hard stop. So now that the Big Ten has modernized and everything is pretty much the Wild West, don't be crying about how, well, everybody's in it for the money now. Dude, come on, Nick. You can't be like, it's that kind of fake, naive talk as though what you were doing at Alabama was this pristine, lily white way of going about things in the SEC. Y'all know where the bodies are buried. Don't act like that stuff wasn't real back then. Or like in the case of Mike Gundy, dude, it's not like you don't have access to money, dude. So all this kind of stuff is interesting as schools and conferences, particularly in the SEC, are now having to struggle with the fact that the level playing, it's not level per se because the richer is going to get richer, but what we're finding out in this era and with in the combination with the college football playoff The greatest trick the SEC ever pulled was convincing you that their best teams were better than everybody else's best teams without having an opportunity to play them. And now with the college football playoff, and now with money free flowing, you're finding out that the SEC's advantages of basically mythology and cash have gone away. And I'm not saying the SEC is dead. I'm not saying the SEC doesn't have good schools. They can't win championships. I'm simply pointing out that it's a lot more equal at the top level than it was ever before. And you're seeing a little bit of an exposure now for the SEC.
Isn't this a lot like what Theo Pinson said about Carolina basketball recruiting and the shorts and, people used to go there for, see, I'm not going to completely dismiss what Saban said about, yes, there was a LSU, Georgia, Alabama, Florida recruiting appeal to a certain percentage of players, right? But I think to Nick's point, Caleb Downs, my guy,
your guy,
begins his career at Alabama, right?
Mm-hmm.
And helps them make the playoff. Very next year, ends up at Ohio State. Like, I don't think was ever a chance that a Caleb Downs ends up at Ohio State. You know what I mean? Like, so I get that. And I think what he's trying to say culturally, which I do agree with, but it's a different time now, is you got, there's a weather factor and there's a race factor. Because when you go to Michigan and you look around the campus and you're like, I'm the only African-American person here.
That factors in.
You know what I mean?
And it's cold.
So I think there is a cultural point to what he's trying to make.
I'm not,
but I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right in that wasn't the only reason that the player went to Alabama. It wasn't the only reason. Hey, I even broke off an LSU cheats to Mike Archer. Like, even he had to be like, yeah, man, I get it.
Look, man.
Right? Like, this is the 80s, man.
Steve Logan, when he was recruiting at Colorado.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. He would say, like, yeah, go see a recruit. And they're living in some, he called it tobacco shack out and wherever. And they found out, as he likes to say, little old Steve Logan paid a guy a visit. When I would go back and visit that guy, he suddenly had a new washer dryer set.
Right.
New car in the driveway.
Right.
Come on, y'all. Let's not be naive. I am naive about this from the college football subreddit. What is the Collie Matrix? And why is NC State number 2 on the Collie Matrix?
You got to scroll up a little bit because this is the best part of the whole thing.
Where am I scrolling up to?
Oh, look at the thing. It says, here's the current blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Go back. Just read it.
Yeah. Here's the current top 25 for the Collie Matrix, an official NCAA recognized national championship selector.
Yeah. Collie Matrix was one of the ones that was used in the BCS formula.
Oh, that one.
And it's also one of them that is like one of these I think just based on seeing the first 5 teams.
Yes.
It puts a lot of weight on who you play.
I see.
And the quality of teams that you play, right? So NC State has played ECU and Virginia. And you might say, well, they're not that great, but they're not 1A. They're not 1AA teams that they just beat by a million points. They also are teams. Virginia, in the case of Virginia, they won their first game against Coastal Carolina. So a computer likes that. And ECU just destroyed Campbell. So the computer likes that too.
Yeah.
So the Collie Matrix, this is one of those like Auburn claims or UCF will claim. So I say if you're NC State right now, you take a picture of that, you hang the banner.
Hang a banner.
Number 2, Collie Matrix 2025.
Let's go.
Did you see the other teams on the top 5 though?
Yeah, it was like, I just closed it out. But yeah, I'd seen some of those other teams. I was very confused. Speaking of NC State, they go to Winston-Salem, a house of horrors for the Wolfpack in the past, to take on Wake Forest. Right now, they are a 7-point favorite against the Demon Deacons. According to DraftKings, -7 at -115. They are -298 currently on the money line. But y'all know how I like to get down. It's all about that single game parlay. +928.
Whoa.
$10 paying out $102. NC State to win by 14, and the Packers will play that night to win by 14. What do you say, Joe? Pack and pack. It's a pack double. Wolfpack and the Packers. Who says no? Who says no? Guess what? I'm not saying
not
no.
you.
$5 gang. Let's go. Yeah, let's do it on the DraftKings Sportsbook app.
Lines and odds can change.
Of course they can. Of course they can. Look, it's your season. It's your shot. NFL season is rolling. I know a lot of people are going to be watching the college football game between State and Wake Forest on Thursday. But we got Thursday night football in the NFL as well. And DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. You could do quick game parlays like I just did, $5. You could do TD props, in-game live betting, all there for you. Every snap is loaded with opportunity. And new customers, this one's for you. Bet $5 and you'll get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, you'll score over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use that promo code OG25. Again, that's OG25 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you place your first $5 bet. Plus, over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, 21 plus, age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Fees may apply in Illinois, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. NFL Sunday Ticket offer for new subscribers only and auto renews until canceled. Digital games and commercial use excluded. Restrictions apply. Additional NFL Sunday Ticket terms at youtube.com/go/NFL Sunday Ticket/terms. Limited time offer. Housekeeping brought to you by Enovana. Check them out online at enovana.com.
If you have mess inside your mansion or trash in your cabana, get it clean with Enovana.
Mentioned that NC State Wake Forest game. We are going to be at Longleaf tomorrow for OG Live. We are in swine protocols, meaning we will be live at 1 o'clock tomorrow instead of 2 o'clock while we catch the tail end of the lunch crowd. Come on out. Think about your tailgating needs because Longleaf can handle that for you along with the Holt Brothers Foundation. That's a great cause.
Yeah.
So get your tailgate packages from Longleaf. Get your OG Light at Longleaf. I believe they're going to get a re-up. Had somebody text the OG Sports phone that they got the last of the OG Light this weekend.
Oh, no.
But the re-up is arriving on Thursday, I've been told.
Okay, good.
So that's a good thing. So come on out. We'll have hats too.
Yeah, we'll have hats tomorrow.
Please warm Giglio's heart and buy some hats.
Give me a little pity purchase.
Get him a pity purchase because he was very, very proud of some of the hats that he wanted designed.
No.
It's fine. Just come and buy them.
I'm 50. It's fine.
Well, we have people in their 50s who listen that would like a hat like that.
That's true.
So come on out, buy a hat, hang out with us while we do OG Live. Also, come out and hang out with us for Balls versus Cancer at the Rialto. That's September 19th. The Scalar brothers in the house. Go to rialto.com, therialto.com. We will be there warming up the crowd with Chip Patterson of CBSSports.com and Mike Maniscalco, Canes play-by-play, plus the return of You're Full of Shit, Giglio. I'm excited about this.
Do you want me to be hockey themed, or you want me to be like Sklar brother themed, or
Why
what would
not?
you like? They're Canadian, eh?
Why not? Both.
Okay.
Because we're going to have a team Patterson, we're going to have a team Maniscalco.
Right.
So maybe there's a little bit of mix of college football and hockey.
I like that. I can do that.
Okay.
I can come up with that.
So go to therialto.com and get your tickets today.
I should really write those out, though, because we don't want me ad-libbing those.
Yes, please. Yeah, please write them down.
Because I can get a little...
You'll probably have a couple of OG lights, too, before we even,
right,
along with probably another mixed drink of some sort. So let's make sure that happens. Okay. We were going to talk to Gordon Miller today, but I believe Gordon is still feeling it from his Lions.
Yeah, he needs some recovery time.
He needs a
the
little
big
recovery
win
time
by the Tigers, though, yesterday. So I know we both had that on our cards yesterday. So he's happy about that.
Good. So go to millerlending.com/the OG or call him directly at 919-447-3377. He might not be right about his Lions, but he is right about how mortgage rates work and where things are going. And I've been a customer of Gordon's and Miller Lending for a very, very long time. From my first home purchase to the second home purchase to multiple refinances. The most important thing about Miller Lending, they're going to make sure that whatever it is that happens makes sense for you. That is important. They're not going to rush you into anything. So go to millerlending.com/the OG or call them directly at 919-447-3377. You take that thing to close, you'll get a Raleigh Wine Shop gift basket. Plus, Giglio will personally get you a Rowback polo.
Yeah, somebody just closed, so they get their dealer's choice now of their Rowback polo of choice.
You got pigs on today, right?
I do.
I like that. I actually like that
It's
one.
a really good one.
That's a good one. They got nothing but great stuff at Rowback. Go to rowback.com, use the promo code OG20. You'll save 20% off your order. They're dropping new collegiate stuff all the time. I've seen some new ECU gear, Wake Forest gear, App gear, State, UNC, you name it.
The
They've got
Wake game day shirt with the
pretty
walking deke.
The walking deke's pretty good.
Could be in my collection soon.
So go to rowback.com, use that promo code OG20. Let's say you did refinance, you needed a place to close the documents, sign all the things that you need. Hey, Whitaker and Hamer can do that for you. Check them out online at wh.lawyer. Again, that's wh.lawyer. And you know what? You just closed, you refinanced. It's time to celebrate. It's time to go to Two Roosters. Go to Two Roosters, tworoosters.com. Find out their rotating flavors. This weekend, I will finally get the fluffernutter. Finally
you
gonna
got
get it.
both. You got the creamsicle and the tang and the.
I don't know. I don't know about all
orange
that.
person.
I'm not an orange person.
Oh, okay.
I'm not like a.
Some people don't like certain things.
As my brother.
Peanut butter is our true.
Yeah,
passion,
that's our true passion. It might be emotional trauma when my dad would take us to Howard Johnson back in the day.
Howard Johnson had some banging ice cream.
They had the orange sherbet, which my dad was all about.
Okay.
They had
I was
rubbery,
always partial to a rainbow sherbet.
rubbery ass fried clams, but man, that orange sherbet hit for my dad. David texted me.
Why
Right?
would your dad get the clams at the?
I don't know. Like David texted me. He's like, wow, right out of the gate with some dad trauma. I'm like, you remember when he said they didn't have texting in Cuba? As though text messaging existed in 1959. Anyway, go to Two Roosters. Bond with your family.
No clams in sight.
Joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline is Spencer Hall. Shutdown Fullcast. You remember him from this podcast festival last summer. Spencer, what's going on, man?
You were looking at it. Wednesday is my Sunday during the season. So I still have my pajama pants on. Like, yeah, because, that's the good thing about doing videos. It just has to be from here down. So t-shirt, barely kempt. We're good.
Hey, man, it's the beauty of podcasting, radio all those years. I don't think I wore pants I just wore shorts and flip-flops for the majority of my career. I still do because what's it matter? I'm on radio and now I'm from the waist up. I remember when Bomani Jones would do Around the Horn hits from our building. He would have the suit, the dress shirt, sometimes a tie, wearing Nike basketball shorts and slides.
Yeah, that is because I just gotta have this. Dress. Listen, any more than from the waist up, that's simply for your own self-esteem or to please some invisible person in your head who told you got to wear a whole suit to be on TV. That's a lie.
Dress for the job you want. I guess we have it right now. So a little bit of context here. The reason why I reached out is I want to get into the mindset of coaches and how we view coaches and whatnot. Back when the Carolina Hurricanes were in their playoff run, I don't know if you knew this or not, but we're reinventing sports podcasting by taking calls after games with the OG Sports Phone.
We did that too, and I'm just gonna say we did it first before anyone in the history of humanity had done it. So
I don't know about you. Might be the internet's only college football podcast, but I'm pretty sure we were the ones that reinvented sports talk by going live after games and taking calls, Spencer.
Agree to disagree.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. You'll see my lawyer. During that time, there's a crossover from Carolina Hurricanes fans and NC State fans. And when people were lamenting, here we go again, the Canes are going to lose, the Panthers are going to get done. And what was the general sentiment, Joe? Like, crap. Now we just have to be disappointed by Dave Doeren. He was catching strays through the entirety of late April and May, man. It was crazy. And then sure enough, they beat ECU and people are mad because they didn't win the right way. What do you like to say, Joe? NC State won, but
Dave Doeren lost.
Meanwhile, I got word that Dave Doeren's coming up on Shutdown. And it's like, what is going on with Dave? Is because he's been at a place for 13 years and this is what happens in college football? This is just what happens to you?
I think that here's the funny part. Okay. Like if you want to know what's funny about Dave Doeren is that Dave Doeren is given an impossible task. He's given an impossible task, which is you need to be good every single year at NC State. No one has done this. Go look at the history of the program. Like some people have been consistently okay. Some people have even been periodically good. It is a difficult ask in a state where there is not one. Who was I talking? It might have been. It was Holly, at least. We were talking about how the state of North Carolina is so curious in terms of football.
Oh, yeah.
Because you have so many teams and all of them are okay. Like, you don't even have a deplorable team. You don't even have a true bottom feeder of a team, right? There is no sturgeon in your ecosystem, right? There's nothing that cleans the fish tank in terms of like North Carolina football. It's like you have a bunch of goldfish. No apex predator, no bottom feeder. Everything is in the middle, and it stays in the middle. It's amazing. And of those, NC State is one of the most challenging because NC State fans care. I think it's a much harder job than UNC could ever be for so many reasons, but mostly because NC State fans want to be good. They want to be good. UNC fans do not care. Like, that's the Belichick thing to me, and so amazing that you have this guy who comes in with no experience in this particular job in college coaching, okay? And he's very old, and everyone's like, oh, this will matter. It will never matter. Like, the idea that any of it mattered, like the Dave Doeren saga of being as good as he has been for a decade, being what will be, I think his tenure will be the best in school history. Especially given the difficulties of the modern game, right? I hate it when people go back in time and they're like, oh, what about, old whiskey?
Let's talk about Dick Sheridan, Spencer. I want to talk to you about Dick Sheridan.
What about Whiskey Jug Brooks back in 1930? No one cares. Pop, you know what?
On this program earlier.
Yeah, let's talk about Pop Warner, okay? It doesn't really matter because I think NC State's difficulty alone, the difficulty of that job and the overall historical profile of NC State versus what it's been under Dave Doeren. Why does he take shots? It's funny because he cares so much. And I think that the comedy, when we talk about him and when we have fun with somebody, you can't make fun of something that isn't there. And the thing is that Dave Doeren really cares about his job and he really wants them to be good. And he's very committed to it. And that to me is always funny because I'm like, the person NC State's going to let down hardest is Dave Doeren, right? Like at one point, he's going to bump up against the limits of being in the ACC. He's going to bump up against the limits of being of the talent in state. He's going to bump up against, who am I recruiting against? Georgia, right? Like when I talk about like who's sharking talent in the state of North Carolina, it's some very big hitters who are looking, to the north or to the east to get talent and fish it out of that state. It's hard. And I really admire how tough he has been and how committed he has been to a job that no job will love you back, but some jobs put a little extra mustard on that disdain. And I think that a job like NC State is one of those collegiate jobs that it's not going to love you back a little bit harder.
Well, on one hand, we have NC State giving this guy 13 years and he's Kirk Ferentz without the division titles or the institutional racism. Right? I mean,
okay, that means he's not Kirk Ferentz. Those are integral parts of the Kirk Ferentz experience.
Just hand waving away institutional racism.
and the random 10-win year because you're in the right side of the division, basically.
Right.
So we have Dave Doeren on one hand getting the 13 years, and then there's Florida. Florida churns through some coaches, man. And where do they go? What do they do? Do they back it up for Lane at this point, or is there like that's thinking of that they're is the apple of their eye right now?
So I think the thing that is truly missing from the program is not institutional commitment. Okay, so that's the hardest step is like getting people to write checks. Everyone at Florida is happy to write a check. They're about to write a very big one to tell Billy Napier to go away and to go coach somewhere else. The thing to me that the program is missing is urgency. There's no energy. There's no urgency. There's no, there's absolutely, oh boy, it's hard to not grab a cliche here. There's no killer instinct. There's no, if you watch them against USF, it was like, oh no, run a play. It always feels like we're scrimmaging, right? It always feels like Florida is scrimmaging rather than trying to win a game in an aggressive fashion. That to me is why the first dumbest answer is still the most obvious one, which is Lane. Like, they'll go get Lane because I know Lane wants to win a game. Lane has been at Ole Miss for long enough where I think he can say, left the program a lot better than I found it, which is absolutely true. First 11 win season in that program's history. Has shown that he can work in. There's an interesting transition he may not get enough credit for. He's shown that he can be a portal coach, a coach who has thrived in both recruiting eras, right? Pre-portal, pre-NIL, and post-NIL, post-portal. And that's something that, like, maybe we don't give him enough credit for. That's job one. I think that's like the first person who's going to receive any attention is obviously Lane Kiffin, right? And I know that's true because Florida message boards are already doing my favorite thing, which is telling fairy tales about how this is a done deal and how this is like going to happen, right? Like, Layla went to school here. Where did y'all go to school? Do you really think that you're like, hey man, you know that place where I was broke and I was 19? I'd really like to go back there as an adult and a millionaire. No. Hey.
Spencer.
Little Billy's
Little
first
Billy.
words were beat Duke.
Beat Duke.
Because his dad coached there for a hot minute in the 50s.
There's a black and white photo of Little Billy in a UNC shirt somewhere in Keenan. Just saying.
Yeah. It's not that's all fairy tales. The things that make it plausible are the weaknesses that we have and how much they would match up with the potential strengths that I think Lane would bring to the job. And personally, there are some downsides to the Lane Kiffin experience. Whether he would go is a good question. Like, I don't think that's a done deal. Somebody needs to show me. They need to prove to me that he's not getting what he wants at Ole Miss because dude's winning 10 and 11 games. If you follow him on Instagram, seems very personally fulfilled by this. He's got a nice hot yoga studio. He's got all his kids there. Layla's back. Like, things seem to be hopping. He's like real trim and real slim. Don't know how much of that is better living through chemistry, but I don't care. That's fine. Either way, it's the work.
Plus, we all know that he's waiting on NC State because he wants to go home, if you will. He wants to be like Little Billy, and he's going to get there. He's like, hey, what happened to the hill that I used to hang out on when Monty was the head coach here? I don't understand. I thought there was the grass hill here back.
Never mind, he fired his dad.
Not the point, Joe. Not the point.
Listen, the man's got a lot of achievements in his career. Firing your own dad is way up there.
So for the YouTube audience, and I know you can see because we're here on StreamYard, behind Joe is a photo that we never thought would have any relevance other than, that's cute. Bill Belichick talking to Dave Doeren at, was that Bradley Chubb's pro day?
Yeah, Naheem
and all those guys, right? Yeah, right. So, and then, they're having a good laugh behind Joe Giglio right there. And little did we know that this would actually be a rivalry matchup at some point. And getting back to Dave and the caring part, he cares. He cares about that game. It's evidenced by his record against UNC. He still has a job at NC State because of his record at UNC. Tom O'Brien cannot say the same thing. Mm-hmm. The impression that I'm getting out of Bill Belichick after 2 weeks, I mean, I can't imagine if you asked Bill Belichick a year ago, hey, man, tell you what, your first college win is going to be at a glorified high school stadium that was funded by a dead NFL owner. And it's going to be against UNC Charlotte. I'm sorry, Charlotte, because you don't want to call them UNC Charlotte. This is your coaching dream. You always talk about the purity of coaching. What's more pure than taking a Power 5 school to Charlotte in a glorified high school stadium to get your first collegiate win? He looks like he's thrilled. He looks like he's really enjoying himself.
Yeah. Is that possible?
No, it's not possible. It's 2 weeks in. He already looks over it.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be done after one game. He's fighting. Listen, people said, "Oh, that's impossible." He has quit a job on day one before. That has happened, right? Yeah. So why not UNC? What makes you more special than the New York Jets? A lot of things, actually, but more competitive football teams. Sometimes.
I mean, they don't have those pine trees up in New Jersey, man.
No. They need that for parking. Please.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think any of this will matter. I think that's like my favorite judgment on a coaching tenure instantly when you go, oh, that hire? Yeah, none of it'll matter. None of this will matter at all. Like this will be a blip. There's no chance it goes past a year None. Like, realistically, if I had to ask you guys, what are the odds in like 1 to 100 format or 100 to 1 format that this man coaches a second year at UNC?
You're the odds man.
Yeah, I would say 0.
Yeah. Although you say it doesn't matter on the ground here, if you ask UNC
I was going to say there
officials-
is some. I do think there's a chance, not for Belichick, but I do think there's a chance for it to matter to Carolina.
to Carolina.
Yeah.
They're talking
The investment.
Yeah, they're talking about, like, look, I went to the first game against TCU, not to go to the game, but just to walk around the campus. I mean, I've been going to football game days in Chapel Hill for a very, very long time. And the last time it had that kind of buzz was 1997 when we had the Bowl Alliance, not the BCS, the Bowl Alliance. And Mac Brown had UNC cooking. They ran into a Florida State squad, very similar to all the hype ends up being deflated because you ran up to an actual, like, real legitimate football team. And Mac said, forget it. They're already focused on basketball. Time to go to Texas. The rest is history. So it felt very similar to my experience when I was 18 years old at that game. And the reason why I would kind of bring this up, I'm not necessarily pushing back, just more your thoughts on how UNC is handling this. They're very focused on the amount of Rams Club members that have picked up since Bill Belichick got there.
Yeah.
They're very ramped up on season ticket sales. Like, they're almost showing through Bubba Cunningham and Lee Roberts, the chancellor, that, hey, if you're interested in adding a school to your conference, SEC, we can play that part. Now, what part that is in the SEC might get to what Joe likes to say, which we can get to in a second. But the idea that it doesn't matter, I don't know if that's true for officials at UNC. The results might not matter. And clearly they don't, because I've been getting told about TV ratings more than anything else. But it clearly matters to the administration.
Well, if the administration can snowball this money forward, and if they can continue this kind of stunt momentum, right? Which this momentum's not real. You're not going anywhere with Bill Belichick as your head coach. They don't know how to run a program. They fired all the people who did it. Yeah, like it was dead in the water before it ever started. However, if you found a coach who approached the job with the kind of humility on the ground about how to do this and acknowledging that it's a different gig than the pro gig, if you took that money and you snowballed it into increased institutional commitment and the hire of somebody who was actually a college football coach who could do this well, or a pro coach who decided, I'm going to have to change in order to do this job correctly, I think that, yeah, maybe in an institutional sense it'll matter. I'm speaking from a football perspective in terms of the story, right? In terms of whether we watch this on a Monday night. The story tells itself. I can't make anything up as a writer. I can't. I really can't, because it has to be true. And Michael Jordan was already out of the stadium, right? Before they came in with the desserts.
He was on a plane. He was on a plane by the time that game ended.
That's my favorite. What's the judgment? Is Jordan being like, I don't mess with losers. But out. Love that. Absolutely love that. You're like, who's going to keep it real? And you're like, Mike's already at a table, man. He's at like Atlantis, or he's in Vegas. He's not here. He's gone.
He's not here.
It was
appropriate.
It was the non-verbal equivalent of "fuck them kids."
It was 100%. It was Mike being like, and I took that personally. I'm out. I'd rather be gambling. Football wise, football wise, it's just not gonna matter. And that I can't say that for individual players like Max Johnson. I think Max Johnson, it's great that he's back out there. Like, in terms of individual stories, you can't write that off. You can't say, hey, that's a story of perseverance that I think you can carry out of this. But in terms of like UNC, the team, and any of this mattering, you don't think NC State's going to do everything they can to put them in the dirt? Not just beat them 24-10 by a respectable Christian football score. No, they're going to absolutely flatten them.
If Manny doesn't the week before. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Manny's got to get out of his own way. All right, we'll close on this.
Well, I do have one national question for it, because I'm curious from your national perspective. And man, I wonder if this is going to match my answer. Who has been the most impressive team that you've seen through the first 3 weeks of the college football season?
TCU. No. The most impressive team to me.
I.e., who would you pick to win the national championship after
Okay, that's a
watching the
different
first
question.
3 weeks of the season.
Because the most impressive team is South Florida, given
South
who
Florida.
they are and what they have done and who they have beaten. And in 3 weeks in a row, if they manage to beat Miami, which is a possibility given the role that they are on, that would be the most impressive team. The team that should win the national title this year is Ohio State. That should happen, but they're not any. I will say this: that is the most talented roster. They are not the roster that you look at and go, "Yeah, y'all are firing on all cylinders." Absolutely not. Like Saban's not ready yet. He's clearly got a lot of room to grow. I think there's an interesting thing where I want to see what happens with the defense once Matt Patricia's been the one coaching them for a while. I think it's easy to walk in and call the plays. I think it's very hard to walk in and keep the same kind of esprit de corps, discipline, sort of like accountability. That's the thing that tends to start to slip after a while. So I'm interested to see that. But that's the most talented team. Like it's not, but playing Grambling doesn't really prove much, right? Like, so that's still very, very early on, but that would be my wager.
So we'll close this conversation by going back to the start and NC State, right? And the weirdness that is North Carolina football in the state. And I'm in total agreement with you on that. And this is a conversation.
And I love that you understand that.
You understand.
I do love that you understand.
Not a lot of people understand how weird this state is when it comes to college football.
Hey man, you could just stop at college football. That's y'all got a weird state.
Fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like we started.
Yeah, we got a purple state. Like
right.
we're weird when it comes to politics. We're weird with everything.
Oh, we vote
weird when it comes to geography, right?
Yeah,
Like,
but there's that too.
We can't make up our mind.
It's like, oh, you make a Democratic governor, but you vote for Trump. Okay, that's very North Carolina.
Just listen. Are you hot or cold? Answer me that. At any point in the state of North Carolina, how are you feeling? Are you hot or are you cold?
Well, what time? What time of the day?
Correct.
It could be cold at 8 a.m., but it's going to be balls hot at 2 p.m. So
That's right.
Anyway, there's always a conversation about the GOAT, right? Who is the greatest coach to ever do it? You know, Nick Saban. In college, people would say this. Urban Meyer has been blessed with the silver spoon in his mouth with some of the places that he's been able to coach and whatnot. Giglio and I had this conversation about Bill Walsh versus Bill Belichick and things like that. But there's really one differentiator, in my opinion, that ties back to NC State. I want one of these coaches, like Nick Saban, to come to NC State and see what happens. Like, oh, you did it at Alabama. Salute. Oh, you did it at Ohio State, man. I think Joe and I, the three of us could probably get to 6 wins at Ohio State if we tried. If you really want to prove to me, 10 probably. If you really want to prove to me that you are the greatest of all time, get NC State to the college football playoff. Is that too much? Do you think that's too crazy of a thought?
I don't think that's crazy, but I do like the way you're thinking about this because we don't often allow context when we talk about the GOAT.
No.
For instance, Bill Belichick's a great example. That stock has fallen because it turns out maybe more of that greatness had to do with Tom Brady as quarterback than we thought, right? Like that's, I think we've at least slid that a little bit this way over the past 4 to 5 years, given his results. I don't think in college football, we appreciate context enough in terms of production and win percentage at places that have not had it. That's why I have a ton of respect for the job Dave Doeren has done. I don't know Dave personally, right? You don't want to be like, I respect Dave Doeren as a person so much. No, like people in the media do that too much. You're like, man, there's a lot of stuff I don't know about you. I can only talk about you as a coach. You seem all right, right? I got to assume like a basic baseline. But we don't talk about the job that people do in context. Dave Doeren's done an incredible job in context. Yes, he lacks some of the things Kirk Ferentz has, like divisional titles, okay? But
and the institutional rights.
Okay. That's again.
Maybe I will adopt that tagline.
We talk about the whole story when we talk about the story, but we don't talk about guys like Bill Snyder. To me, is the greatest college football coach of all time, and he is the greatest college football coach of all time because he took a program that was not just historically mid. That program was gutter. That program was terrible. And if you look at what he did, it's great to talk about him because I've interviewed him about it. And, you kind of get to ask the guy. You're like, hey man, how did you not kill yourself when you walked in the door every day? Like that's like facilities were bad. No hope. Like no hope. How do you function as a coach when there's no hope?
Yeah.
When you
and Nebraska are routinely beating you by 70.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you turn into the guys who basically established the blueprint on how to deal with Nebraska. They did not beat them. They did not. But they're the ones who eventually came up with the blueprint that others would take in order to limit and or defeat that attack. They're the ones who did it. They're the ones who really, I think, were functioning in an NIL era, like in terms of roster construction, if not player payment, because Kansas State didn't have that money, right? You'd be like, oh, Kansas State paid players how much? Like, they got guys out of JUCO and slipped them a couple hundreds, right? Like, here we go. They're the ones, I think, who understood modern roster building first and better than a lot of people. And that to me, and the results that they got, and the fact that they were getting double-digit win seasons and cranking out guys and just being smarter at every point than everyone else, that to me is why he's the greatest coach, right? So if you want to say, like, hey, who's the greatest coach in NC State history, it's very hard for me not to look at what Dave Doeren's gone, that's an obvious pick.
Joe,
by volume and by win percentage.
Grab the tumbler. There's your answer. I don't want to trigger you. I know we don't have that much time.
Yeah, 1973.
But Lou Holtz, to your point about outstripping the school's history, Lou Holtz was the one who did and won an ACC title.
I mean, look at this wonderfully wholesome Lou Holtz caricature.
There may be extracurricular and perhaps unfair reasons why I will not give him any credit.
There we go. That's where I was kind of getting at, is that Lou Holtz had the only team. Lou Holtz is the only one to ever start a season ranked and finish a season ranked at NC State.
That's wild.
So he is the breaker of the law.
I think,
but he also has an ACC title. He also had outperformed the history of NC State. That, I think it was 4 years, or maybe even only 3. His tenure is the high water mark for NC State. And he's an interesting thought process too. You have the national championship, obviously, at Notre Dame, but we could argue maybe anybody could, but no one has since him in '88.
He also wants Ryan Day to fight him.
Yeah,
like literally.
Look, I'm not a little.
I'd like to watch that.
It's one of those. Yeah. You bringing up Bill Snyder is a great point. Like, what have you done compared to your school's history? And so, and I think you're absolutely right about Dave. He has outperformed his investment and his resources, and outperformed, quite frankly, being the second banana in this state. And Spencer, to your point at the beginning of the program, it's not just being the second banana in this state. It's Wake is always going to have good players. ECU always going to have good players. App State is always going to have good players. And one of them starting for Tennessee right now, right? You know? So I think I really appreciate that you understand the dynamic of college football in the state of North Carolina and the job that Dave has done. That doesn't excuse some of the things you said about Billy Napier, right? Like, it feels like we're scrimmaging. It feels like we're not being aggressive enough.
It just like, I don't know, find a pulse, man. Find a pulse. That's it. Just feels like you see Billy talk and you go, that's the team, man. Like, okay, everybody, let's just play a game.
What if I told you that there was almost a scenario where Chad Morris was the head coach of NC State and his top recruiter was Billy Napier? We weren't this close to it happening, but it was at least on the big board.
It was discussed.
It was at least on the big board.
It was discussed.
Yeah, listen, there's a bullet here. You dodged it.
Spencer Hall, Shutdown Fullcast. The After Darks are on Patreon. Now, I will say, they're the originators. The true After Darks are the Shutdown.
Okay, listen, like that's. I've had very, very few good ideas, but the idea of doing college, like, because you know what the inspiration for After Dark is? It's college football final with Lou Holtz.
Yes,
right.
Him and Mark May would do that stupid. Did they go to court? Remember, they would have like a court session.
And they'd have like fake robes.
Oh yeah.
And it was. I guarantee you, budget for that show $9. Like, budget for that show was $9. It was on at like 1:30 in the morning. And after the first 5 minutes, no script whatsoever. I don't want to say it was good, but it was great. If that makes sense.
I would DVR it. I would DVR final and watch it in the morning because it was so unhinged. It was completely unhinged.
Yeah, no, like no guardrails whatsoever. Just Reese Davis trying to keep that's the idea behind After Dark, is that like if you're very tired, which we are very tired when we do that show,
you are.
That everybody's on the same level. You, the listener, or the randos who sometimes stumble in. We get those on Twitch. That's my favorite. So some VTuber who's been watching someone play Fortnite for 9 hours just stumbles over and they're like, "Yo, what is this?" And that's great. You're like, "Hello, 19-year-old. This is the best thing you're going to watch all day." You'll have no idea what we're talking about.
All right, man. We'll talk to you later.
All right, later.
Big thanks to Matt Davis at State Farm. InsureGarner.com is the website. You can call him directly at 919-779-8277. What a concept. You call that number, you're going to hit the Garner office. You're going to talk to somebody. You might think you got good insurance rates right now. You might think that, though. There's only one way to find out. Just start a conversation. See what they can do for you. InsureGarner.com or 919-779-8277. Big thanks to our friends at Color Graphic. I saw the sandwich board. It's in the hallway.
Yeah, it looks great.
That you used for First Friday. We're going to have to use that again. Do we bring it to Longleaf on Thursday?
Yes, of course.
Okay, cool stuff. You need a sandwich board. You need a wrap around your official OG mobile, which Joe Giglio is trying to convince me to get. Color Graphic can do that. They can do that.
I'm not trying to.
Just hit them up. Sales@colorgraphic.com. They are also our proud Brief History of Triangle good sponsor, and of course, our social media sponsor as well. So hit them up at sales@colorgraphic.com. Big thanks to Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority. You can check them out online at bugsbite.com. As I mentioned yesterday, see what happens today if I go on a walk this afternoon. I was walking around in a different part of the neighborhood. I could tell they have not been treated by Mosquito Authority because I'm walking here. And I had a mosquito land on my arm and bite me. Come on now. Come on. But with Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority, you can keep that in check. So check them out online at bugsbite.com. And like I've been walking around the neighborhood and I've been seeing a lot of for sale signs, some houses that have been sitting on the market for a hot minute right now. And maybe that gives you this impression that, maybe I should hold off on buying a house, or, hey, maybe I'm looking at a house. How can I kind of drive the price down a little bit? Long story short, you can have some thoughts, but to put it into action, you need the experts, and our friends at Hometown Realty can help you out with that. Check them out online at myhtr.com. Joining us in the Heister Automotive Group studio hotline on the microphone.
On the mic.
Is Tim Healy.
And always bearing gifts.
I know. Tim Healy, NC State IcePack coach in the house. What's up, man? You're always bringing us stuff, man.
Well, we just got to add
just
to the
vibe
of the room over here.
Okay.
Well, he doesn't get anything.
So here's my thing, because
I know you have the OG Golf Classic coming up too. So
I'll give you the cup.
Really?
Because you can have the cup. You'll actually use the cup.
Originally had you come up here because we were going to talk about hockey and NIL and maybe even what the heck are the Dallas Stars doing, because I keep getting messages about that. Like, what's going on and what does that mean for youth hockey around here? But before we got going, it was like an Action Park reminiscing session.
As I said, talking to Joe, the rite of passage, even in my area, living up above the city, was the two best days of the summer. We're going to Action Park, and both great memories, and I think some traumatic ones. Walking in, and the first thing you see is someone just blood hanging off them from the Alpine slide. And, as a child, I don't think you realize, theme parks are supposed to suspend, fear that something could happen. But when it actually happened, looking back on it, what made Action Park special was that it actually could happen.
I'm very jealous that you guys got to experience Action Park, because my first basic knowledge of Action Park was when MTV's Headbangers Ball went there.
I remember that. Yeah.
And I want to say it was Alice in Chains was hanging out there, and they showed that loop-de-doop water slide, which I then watched the documentary on HBO.
I was never there when it was open. It was just myth and lore when you walked in.
It was never open.
Well, this loop-de-loop water slide.
It was there. You saw it right when you went
in. On the documentary, they said the reason why it was never open is because they were cleaning out teeth every time. I believe it.
There were no engineers.
I was going to say,
being associated with an engineering school like NC State, complete opposite of Action Park.
The whole Action Park thing, now that I know both of you got to experience it, makes a lot of sense.
It also has ruined wave pools for me, because no other wave pool is like the Action Park wave pool. You know what I'm talking about?
Joe's laughing. Like, I don't
was
understand.
Like a tsunami turned up to level 5 with thousands of kids, half who can't swim.
I was going to say, the real issue here is that there was no air conditioning. There's no central air conditioning in New Jersey or New York, in the tri-state area.
Yeah. So
you would literally go to Action Park just to freeze your balls off that day, because they had the coldest water of recorded man. Like the rope swing where you went into that like deep, it was like 30 feet.
That pool still exists, by the way.
Yeah.
It was free. It was like Arctic temperatures.
Yeah.
Well,
but no one there. You just went to cool down. You literally went there to cool down, and no one there. Like, if there was 100 people there, 50 knew how to swim. 25 knew how to swim well enough in those types of conditions.
And then you also had the adults who had hit the German beer hall.
And that was it.
And
Like
there was alcohol.
Yeah.
There was
my grandfather would take us down, and he was an alcoholic, right? Like, so we'd walk in and
they
like,
had drinks.
And my brother, we're gone, and he's just getting hit.
He's in the beer hall.
He's just in the beer hall. You know what I don't think gets enough talk about, though, is Motor World, right? The tanks where you could shoot the tennis balls, they break down. The poor staff member would go to get a start, and you're just pegging him with the tennis ball cannons. The go-kart speedboats that anyone could go on that would flip.
They shut those down quick. They shut those down. No, apparently they shut them down. Because again, I watched the documentary. I'm still jealous. I don't care about the rashes and skin hanging off your shoulder. I wanted to do the Alpine slide. I wanted to do the Alpine. So I'm mad that I didn't do it. There's a place in Gatlinburg, Obergatlinburg, that's very similar. They actually have a concrete Alpine slide that I'm guessing is safer.
Anything safer than this Alpine
that it still
slide.
exists today over at Obergatlinburg. But yeah, man, I'm very upset and jealous. Although I would trade all of my Disney experiences for one day in Action Park.
I don't think a Disney adult could handle Action Park.
No,
I've always wanted to do it. Well, it's just like I'm finding out. There's no way in shape or form, as much as Joe Giglio has had experiences in youth sports with his kids. We got tennis. We got
tennis, golf, basketball.
Yeah,
I would not. I'm not.
You would never
capable of the hockey.
You would not last a minute in my world, Joe.
I would actually argue one thing though, having worked at IMG.
Yeah,
tennis parents, high-end tennis parents, are actually the craziest of them all.
Crazier than hockey parents.
Yeah, because here's why: if you go to a tournament, you're going to get a 4-game guarantee, maybe a 5, maybe a 6. Right in the high-end tennis world. You could be going down to the Eddie Herr at IMG in the beginning of December, and then you could be going on to the Orange Bowl one a couple weeks later.
Yeah.
They seed 1 through 16, right? So number one is
the Virginia Slims tournament still a thing? Or anyway, sorry.
Not in youth.
No, okay.
It might come back, right?
I mean, we're talking Action Park. Who's to say they wouldn't back in the day?
So the problem is you could be the 17th best U18 in the world, and you could draw the number 1 seed in both of those, and you've gone down for 2 singles matches, and you're out in that month. So the craziness that I saw around the high-end tennis parents goes beyond even hockey parents. So and by the way, I love my time at IMG. I think it's actually a great place, particularly for the right kid. But if you want to rank crazy sports parents, I put high-end tennis as number 1.
Okay.
Because you think about all you're putting into that for maybe 2 matches in a month.
Yeah.
Now, would you say the parents of the male players were more crazy or the female players were more crazy?
Oh boy, that's a good question. I would probably actually go another category. This could get me in trouble. I thought some of actually our Latin American families were particularly high strung about it, just because there was so much in coming here, right?
Yeah.
So you've invested in it, right? Your craziness is almost proportion to your investment of what you think you're getting out of it, right? So if you were a kid from Florida, right, you're around the corner. But if you're coming in internationally or stuff like that, that raises it. Other than some cultures, right? I was there when Kei Nishikori shot up. Japanese families were great, but they wanted everyone to be the next K. But you had some cultural things that would go.
Oh yeah, the cultural things always matter. Oh yeah, the cultural stuff always matter. I mean, I experienced that. Hell, I've experienced that with youth hockey. We were in Minneapolis for a hockey tournament. And we played a team from South Florida. Now, South Florida's come a long way, but as I'm hearing the parents talk, I'm like, oh, you some Cubans. We got some Cubans in the house. Let's go, right? And I started talking some up. There was some from Hialeah. So when my set of parents were flabbergasted by what their set of parents were saying, I went, yeah, right. I went, oh, you've never spent any time around Cubans, have you? Yeah. Well, to me, this is like a lullaby to me. This is taking me back.
Well, one of the most famous viral youth hockey videos of them all is the wheels are off the bus video where the dad is banging on the glass and breaks the window. And there's his mom, nice job, Gary, or something like that. It's like GameStop. So breaks the glass. And so that's one to go YouTube out there. So that's a Florida hockey family.
That makes a lot of sense to me. So the reason why you and I have been having these conversations at WCC. So I thought, all right, man, why don't you just come in the studio and we can have this on mic, and so that listeners know what's going on, because we're kind of setting up the craziness of youth hockey parents and how people are invested at this level. But now in the era of NIL post-house settlement, we're focused on football. We're focused on basketball. We've seen the quotes from Bubba Cunningham. We've talked to Bubba Cunningham about the outlay of cash, right? But at some schools, hockey is a big deal. And this also affects programs like yours, which are not sanctioned D1. You're not a sanctioned D1 team.
No, not an NCAA team.
You're right. You're not an NCAA team with NC State.
Well, Pac Club is not giving our players $20,000 a year. So,
but at, say, Penn State, Boston College, Michigan State, I'm assuming that the money is insane now.
It is. And, people have to think of what people, and it's going to affect the Hurricanes, and it's going to affect the NHL game too. And here's why. So when you look at the landscape of college hockey, there's only 168 college hockey teams in Division 1 and 3. There's no Division 2 college hockey. And one of the great things about college hockey is, almost like in lacrosse and Johns Hopkins, is you've had some of these smaller schools like St. Lawrence or RPI over the years. Quinnipiac. Well, Quinnipiac has some money, right?
I know. Come on.
Yeah,
shout out to Skylar Bridgewater.
Come on, man.
But, so, you're going to see, we've already seen it in college football, right? Where the little guy is never, a group of 5 schools never going to win a national championship. In hockey, our version of group of 5 schools has been able to. I think that's going to go by the wayside. The other thing that has happened, right? So in hockey, in college hockey, is part of this house settlement, you have roster caps at 26. Teams used to regularly go in the 30s. And then there's this whole other feeder league to the NHL in Canada, what we refer to as major juniors, which is a U20 league. Imagine rookie league baseball or short season A minor league baseball. It was considered a form of professionalism. So Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, Ontario Hockey League, and the Western Hockey League. So
where every great Canadian and North American players ever played.
Exactly. For example, as we know, Sechart did not go to Harvard. That's where he came out of, right? So, and what
there was no Jarvard.
No. So what is happening now is with the finally calling it lack of amateurism, right?
Right.
Those leagues used to not be able to go into NCAA hockey, right? If you went, and I actually thought this was tough. At 18 years old, you had to decide whether I'm going to go and play in the NCAA. And to do that path, I would do what was called Junior A, right? USHL, BCHL. We've had some great players around here. Skylar Brindamore, for example, he went that route into the BCHL off our team. Raleigh Johnson, Colby Peterson in the past went that route. So they had to make that choice at 18. Am I going to do Junior A to preserve my college eligibility or go to Major Junior? Well, now with all the house settlement stuff, Major Junior players can now play in college. So what you've brought into college hockey is you've brought in a whole nother league of players, right? That weren't eligible before. And these are really good players.
Yeah.
And you've brought in now less roster spots at the Division 1 level. So you have more players than ever vying for those spots. So how does that affect NC State? The trickle down is huge, right? Yeah. No other sport in the NIL era that we're seeing has actually increase the amount of people that were eligible for those spots, and at the same time had a drastic cut in the roster spots.
Okay.
What that means for NC State is we're getting better players than ever. With only 68 Division 1 teams, and kind of the word is out. Why go to an NCAA Division 3 experience when you can have, an experience like you have at NC State, a better school, in-state tuition, and actually our out-of-state tuition is comparable to UConn's and UNH's.
Sure.
So now we're recruiting up against that. Great crowd in front end. I hope you guys saw some of the videos of that sold-out crowd on ESPN.
OT winner, right?
Yeah. So that trickled down. So most of our guys that we have 3, 4, 5 years ago would have been NCAA guys. How that affects the Canes, though, on the upper end, right? So you look at Gavin McKenna, who was the number 1 prospect in the CHL last year, the Canadian Major Juniors. Previously, he would have just finished out to U20. Well, probably gotten drafted this year, maybe gone into the NHL a year early before he finishes his juniors. He's now at Penn State, and his NIL deal, not Archie Manning's, but it's $700,000. And when you think about
that's like an entry-level contract.
Exactly. So now, right? So now you're going to have guys, right? So does St. Lawrence Terry Pagula money, right? He can't get the Sabres into the playoffs, but he might be able to get a national championship at Penn State.
Okay.
So that's where that's going to affect. And you're going to see when,
that's insane.
you know,
I mentioned, I mean, even Michigan, I would say
Michigan, I guarantee you, they have 500,000. They're going to have 500,000 guys soon if they don't already.
So Jacob, my son, he was coached by Alex Rosetto, who's on your staff. When he was with 12U White, we went up to Detroit for a tournament, and a group of parents went to a Michigan hockey game. And we didn't end up going. We ended up having
amazing atmosphere.
Right. And they showed me some pictures and videos. I was like, this is insane. Of course, my thought is, well, how do we get that here? Like, how does that, I mean, I know there's a lot of institutional, traditional momentum behind what we see at Big Ten schools, right? Or what we see at Boston College. So my thought is always, well, that's great. Hockey continues to go in an upward trajectory here. How do we get that here?
Well, we need a Terry Pagula, right?
Okay.
Someone, you know, and Penn State was an ACHA team. They were a top ACHA team. And Terry Pagula, you know, basically wrote the check. And he wrote the check in a way that really preserves it as a state institution. The Zamboni driver's salary is endowed at Penn State, right?
Come on.
I kid you not.
All right.
So, you know, and Chancellor Woodson and I had this conversation. And by the way, despite that Southern Arkansas accent, right, he actually went to Cornell to get his PhD.
Right.
And, you know, one of the things he said, I love hockey, but if we're going to have hockey here, we need to make sure it's endowed, because if there's a budget crunch, we can't have some state senator from the Sandhills who has no idea about hockey asking why the hell we have an ice hockey team here, and, you know, to make sure it's endowed. And that's a $75 to $100 million proposition.
Jeez.
And that's before you take out the political climate of college sports right now, right? Where do they play conference wise? You still have why I think the ACC has made great progress in keeping their conference together, right? So, but is a school like NC State or UNC going to take on that, right? It's an expensive sport. I do believe we've shown that the fan base is there for college hockey, where you could draw in the sponsorships for it. But it is someone else picking at that settlement of that $20 million a year, right? It's another sport bringing into that. And if you look at the universities, and we formed this new conference that is all based around big brands in the South, you are your primary team. So us, Alabama, we played Georgia this past weekend. I think they're going to come into it. From a university standpoint, well, our games are on ESPN. We're bringing great kids in, right? So they're adding to the community. You're having a student activity on a Friday night. So you're getting all this fanfare without having to spend a whole heck of a lot of money on it. So what's the impetus to add it? Oh, and by the way, we only get about 3,000 from the university. So they're really not spending a lot on it.
Yeah.
So that's why it really does.
You're the best deal in town for them.
Yeah. If you think about the kids we're getting too, right? Like we have, you know, Isaac Toyer, Benjamin Franklin scholar, who is a double major in finance and engineering out of Massachusetts. We're bringing some of our top kids home.
Wait a second. NC State has something called the Benjamin Franklin Scholar?
Or scholar of one. I might have the founding father's name wrong. Julie, I don't think you were probably that close to it.
I wasn't.
So
no, I know, but like I get so mad at Virginia for being pretentious. If my fucking school has a Benjamin Franklin scholarship, we're
scholars.
I'm gonna have to have some words.
Well, I mean, he's from Mass, so I could say this. He's wicked smart. So right, so you're getting great kids. You're getting high academic kids in, and you don't have to
Google
do
this. You just broke Giglio on that one. One other topic I wanted to hit before we say goodbye is I think I've had several of our listeners send us the USA Today.
Real thing.
It's a real thing?
Yes.
At State?
Yes. Why? We got a fucking kite and keys. What are we doing?
And he's in our locker room.
It's good stuff, man. It's good stuff. So
engineering and humanities. Okay.
I say this with full disclosure. Not only are
That's
you,
right, he's econ, not finance.
Okay.
Not only are you the IcePack head coach, but you also coach a junior canes team.
Sure. Yes.
So just, you know, obviously my kid's part of the junior canes as well. And when you're around that environment, and also listeners who are invested in hockey, I had a bunch of people send me that USA Today article about the Dallas Stars.
Yeah.
And there was this like, oh my goodness, like, and for the quick context here is that essentially the Dallas Stars are taking over as a monopoly for youth sports in the
Dallas.
in the Metroplex.
Yeah. So the Dallas Stars plan when they went into Dallas to create interest up was to build a bunch of rinks.
Yes.
And along the way, they realize, well, wait a second, it's not just about building rinks. We can monopolize this and make this a major profit stream.
And that's the through line for all of this when it comes to youth sports. Okay. While I see the benefits of my child playing for the organization or just youth travel hockey in general, I also know this is a for-profit enterprise in the grand scheme of things. And while I don't think, I'm pretty sure that Tom Dundon has zero interest in doing what the Dallas Stars are doing, even though he likes to copy what the Dallas Stars do in terms of their multi-use real estate play and what we're seeing at Lenovo Center. I don't think he has an interest to do that when it comes to gobbling up a bunch of rinks. He's not going to buy out Polar anytime soon, so to speak. But it does show you, and you've seen stories up in the Northeast Corridor from where you're from, about how youth hockey went from a recreational, you actually had rec rinks, city-owned rec rinks that are now getting bought up, and that's become a for-profit enterprise. But this is not just hockey. This is just a youth sports thing all around, and the price of the brick continues to go up, and it makes me wonder where this is all going.
Well, right. And, the Dallas Stars thing gets into, anyone that has any child in any youth sport, the dreaded stay and play tournament, right? And so they were getting the hotel kickbacks. They were getting money every which way. And right. And if you're an NHL organization, shouldn't you be using your might to make it more affordable and accessible in the lower, younger levels? And this is where I will give the Canes some credit. You're right, Tom Dundon. I don't think that's his interest, and that's fine. That's fine. I have no issues with that whatsoever. But Shane Willis got the first goal program. My kids, it's gotten more expensive now. But the first year my kid played, the whole set of equipment was $100.
Oh, I think when Jacob did it, I want to say when Jacob did it, was just over $200.
Yeah.
It was nothing.
And it's gone up just because of price of equipment, but it's still underwritten. So there's that. But I think this is a trend in all of youth sports, right? Accessibility. And the other thing too, as you mentioned about the price of ice time and rinks, is the lack of community rinks. TJ Oshie was on the podcast, Spit and Chicklets podcast the other day, and he talked about Warrod, Minnesota growing up, where he was able to walk in and play for free every hour of the day. And those municipal rinks going away in those places like Massachusetts and Minnesota, that is going to hurt hockey development. Down here, we don't have any municipal rinks. I don't think you'll ever see any municipal rinks, and people want to sometimes bag on the youth hockey area for the cost of ice time. Well, Jeff Ammons, he's a great guy, and the cost of building WCC, that property, I don't think he has any property tax breaks on that, right? So that's all out of his pocket and needing to recoup that and keep that open. So the profit margins on rinks aren't particularly huge, even at those prices. Imagine running energy bills at an ice rink in
the South.
So it's tough, but I think we've done now. We need more rinks, though, and I think competition will be good. And I think I don't think it'll drive necessarily the price of ice down, but I think it'll make the programs themselves better. If there's more ranks and more competition to fill their roster spots.
We could have a whole hour-long conversation on this stuff, but we got to go. I know you got to go, and we appreciate the time as always. What's next for IcePack?
So we have pretty much home games every Friday night this month. Get out to see us as we play Liberty this weekend. They're a fully funded team in the ACHA, right?
They got a nice facility.
Hey, evangelical Jesus pays, right?
Yeah, man.
We know that. But and actually, I love the coaching staff there. So. Again, I mentioned, I got to do a plug here. We only get about 3,000 from the school. So if you want to see great hockey on ice, be able to take your kid to an affordable, and kids under 18 are free. Adults are $12 for tickets. Get out, see us. That's the biggest way to support us. Coming out to a game, buying a jersey, going to Red and White Shop, getting some of our gear, or going to some of our, we have some corporate champions in both ways, right? Mosquito Authority.
That's right.
Or Two Roosters,
Hayes,
right?
Hayes has supported you. Jared, the Two Roosters has supported you.
So, we have some crossover. So
is our sign still?
Your sign is still, now your sign though can't be in view of the ESPN cameras for our contract. So you can see it if you're in the building.
Apparently we're too big of a media outlet.
A rival media
company. We're a rival
now,
media company.
In the contract.
So it cannot be shown outside. It cannot be shown on camera.
Make sure not everyone knows where you guys play.
Yeah, we play at Invisalign Arena. It's where the Canes practice. So most of
out by the airport.
Out by the airport.
Okay.
So get out and see us play.
My next goal, right? OG Light at the cafe.
At Tribeca. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, you already know some of the hurdles there, so we'll work on that.
We'll work on that.
Yes.
We'll work on that. Tim, appreciate it, man.
No,
We'll talk
thanks
to you
for
later.
having me on.
I enjoyed taking a youth hockey break with Tim Healy.
I just get disappointed when you don't bring the jacket for these conversations. You know how I feel about the jacket.
Oh, I know.
Let's take a break. Let's take a hockey break. Brought to you by Happy and Hill.
Yeah, it's interesting spending some time at WCC. I know the Canes are already doing some workouts there. We're not too far away from the start of another Cane season, man.
For less than a month, October 7th.
Crazy stuff. I think we're going to be at the local on October 7th when they open things up. So check us out when we're there. But in the meantime, all of our hockey conversations brought to you by our friends at Happy and Hail. Download the app today and use the promo code OG25. One time off, 25% when you use that promo code OG25. Yesterday, I had a day. I had to go get Jacob from school. I took him to WCC for some drills, brought him back home. I went to Enloe for open house, and then I went back to WCC
It's a lot.
for off-ice workouts. I was running around like crazy. You know what I needed to do? A little pick-me-up. Happy and Hail. That's where they really shine. So use the app, grab and go, and you can go about your busy day. Check them out. Download the app. Use that promo code OG25. Big thanks to our friends at Bloom & Blinds. They bring you the After Dark in our ACC conversations. Who knows? We might do an emergency After Dark tomorrow.
It's in play. It's been promised and it's in play.
If NC State loses to Wake Forest, we might be in After Dark protocols, right? In the meantime, check out Bloom & Blinds, 919-980-9815. Speaking of hockey dads, Chris, he's a hockey dad, man. You see him at the rink all the time, and he's local. You'll see the truck. That's important. And if you're looking for some stuff in your house, or maybe you've got an office and you're having a hard time doing your presentations because the sun is glaring onto your screen, hey, you can get automation for that. So check out Bloom & Blinds. Call them directly at 919-980-9815. We'll be in OG live mode tomorrow. That's always brought to you by our friends at the Butcher's Market, along with our mailbag on Friday. You can go check out the YouTube channel and become a member so you get the full mailbag. The free portion is brought to you by our friends at the Butcher's Market. In the meantime, go to the Butcher's Market, make it super easy for your, running around like I'm talking about. You know what makes things really easy? Getting one of their prepared frozen meals, stick it in the oven, and it's ready in about an hour.
Will you hit the meeting button?
We're having a meeting.
Okay, so Butcher's Market mailbag is only available on YouTube.
The full version's only available on YouTube.
Okay.
We do put out a free preview, the first segment, via podcast to drive you to YouTube.
So should I be the guy who adds to your workload?
What do you want?
Do we need to take care of those people who are the subscribers by mailing them a MP3 version of that?
No.
So that they can listen to it?
No.
The ones that are paying us?
Nope. You want to give me $50? I'll do it.
I think there are some people who listen instead of watch.
And you can do that on YouTube.
Okay.
You don't have to watch us on YouTube.
That's fair. That's fair. You can put it on the aux cord or whatever, Bluetooth on your car. You're right.
You can Bluetooth this.
And we make more money when you do it on Bluetooth. So
it's 2025, y'all.
Yeah.
Everything's connected. But if you want to give me $100 a month, I will personally.
Whoa, it just went up.
It just went up because I'm thinking about the work involved here. If you want to give me $100 a month,
what work would it be to have a list serve? Basically,
are you going to do it?
I mean, I could if you. I feel like it is something I am capable of, but then how do you listen to it? You have to open up your email to listen.
What are you going to do? You're going to import it to iTunes?
I wouldn't even know how to do
exactly.
that. I would know how to make a clip and a group email.
Yeah. These are things that we know how to do. There's some financial things that we don't know how to do.
No, there's a lot of those.
A lot of that stuff. And you need a...
Apparently, we're changing prices on the fly.
Why not? For $5, you get it as is. You want to give me more money, so be it. Look, man, cash flow is important. You got to understand how it's all working for you. You might need a fractional CFO. But that's where Chris Brassfield comes in. Check out brassfieldaccounting.com. From Homer, Alaska, the man dealing with 22 hours of daylight a day. Okay. He's going to work hard to make sure that your finances, your books are looking good, and also in compliance. You're looking for government grants and things like that. There's a lot of things you got to sign and make sure that you're keeping right. And that's something that Chris can do for you. So check him out online at brassfieldaccounting.com. Again, that's brassfieldaccounting.com.
I love our in real time meetings.
they do happen. Just like when you get me real time Hey Joe's. You sent me this Grind City media clip, and Grind City's out of
hold on.
Memphis.
Let me get my pants off for this one.
Okay,
please.
I don't know who these hosts are, but football stadiums should have roofs. Oh, geez. Okay.
Too technologically advanced as a society to have a 64-minute weather delay for an NFL game in 2025.
How so?
Give me a retractable roof on every stadium.
Oh, yeah,
How
absolutely.
we don't have, and I love snow games. I get the fear. People get so scared for a team like the Eagles needs to have its weather games. What are we going to do if we don't have a snow game? What if we're going to do if they're not slopping it up in the rain? Fine. Have somebody who loves football, who respects the beautiful game, in charge of the retractable roof, but have the option so it can close and we can get back to business. Why we're having a 64-minute weather delay when these things exist on the first, we wait all off season for a football game to come back. And it just sucked the excitement out of it, and it sucked the excitement out of the game. But there's a lot of people who fight tooth and nail against it because they want the atmosphere and the aura of an outside stadium. And I get that. I want that. I love that. I just think it's absolutely silly that we're still pretending like we don't have options other than sitting out a 64-minute lightning delay.
It's a movement. It's officially a movement.
Okay.
You go.
919-444-2211. Call the OG Sports phone and curse or don't.
We're already at 90 minutes. I don't want to belabor the point. Let's go to a 336, shall we?
Hey, Joe. Not sure. I haven't listened to Tuesday's episode yet, but not sure if it's been mentioned. Thursday's game between Wake Forest and North Carolina State is the only FBS or FCS college football game on Thursday of this week. It is rivaling the Commanders-Packers game, and I can only imagine the horror that people will have when they turn their TV to ESPN Thursday night at 7 p.m., 7:30 p.m., and they see that product on their television screen. Thanks.
Wait, now
that's the beauty of college football.
Why are we besmirching the rivalry that is the State and Wake? Pack and Deeks. Come on, man.
Come on. Now, from a 919, complimentary. Harrell versus Harrell.
Oh, no, it's just Paul.
No, it's from 919. You say tomato, I say eggplant. Okay, fine. English was not my first language. From another 919, we'll close on this. I'm probably the one listener in Oakland, California. Oakland, okay.
Here we go.
He's like, I don't want to hear my voice in the pod. Figured I'd text. I'm a State fan who's actually somewhat interested in Cal and Stanford, mainly because I now live in the Bay Area. Sadly, I missed out on State football and men's and women's basketball trips out here last season. I'm not sure when they'll be back. Regarding Tuesday's social media dump. Well, thanks for listening out in Oakland, man. That's great. Regarding Tuesday's social media dump, I tend to stay out of straight people's business. Love that. But I am tired of all the talk about Russell Wilson and Sierra's relationship and the fallout of her relationship with Future. It's been a source of gender wars content for years. This is true. I did not really dive into that, and I had forgotten that whole dynamic. I forgot the whole Future issue here and how there's a lot of dudes on the internet who are very, very upset about like the whole dynamic and whatnot. But that's neither here nor there. He's right.
I don't know any of this.
Oh yeah, no. This has been to the texter's point. This has been podcast fodder. The Russell Wilson Future dynamic has been huge podcast fodder for years.
Future the rapper.
The rapper.
Okay.
March Madness. So he says he content for years, and people tell on themselves about their insecurities when they talk about it. Also, frankly, the vast majority of people are corny for one reason or another, and that's okay. I am in complete agreement with that. I kind of alluded to that yesterday with the Channing Crowder reaction to this stuff, is that he was so bothered that Sierra was perfectly cool with Russell Wilson's corniness. He's like, I was in Atlanta. Like, basically what he's getting at is, I remember when Sierra was a baddie in Atlanta, you know? And he's like, how are you with this man? I don't know, man. Maybe ask some questions about yourself. Like, and he's right. This texter is correct in that we're all corny, man. One reason or another, we're all corny. And the goal in all this is to find somebody who puts up with your corniness. Or as I like to tell the kids, the goal in life is to find somebody who puts up with your bullshit. Okay? Because God knows Kelly puts up with mine. And I know Jessica puts up with yours. So we'll end on that. Very, very good text. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Long leaf, 1:00 for OG Live.